promote more nature-based tourism, eco-friendly tourism as well, right? Are these
Yes,
two correct? Is that what you
uh,
said?
yes, we would like to promote more some kind of sustainable, which is sustainable tourism, which again is nature tourism, because we are kind of suffering from the mass one. And it's
Yeah.
really focused on a small part of Montenegro, and the rest isn't really worked on when it comes to tourism.
Mhm.
So we through this we want to develop the sustainable way of traveling, basically.
Okay, Damania, here's my question. Is this an association or a social startup or startup? Which one you would go for?
I think this would be like a group startup because it's through an NGO. It's already being done.
So you're going to, it's an NGO that exists and that has
Yes,
these
yes.
activities, but you're planning to transform these activities into a startup idea, right?
Yes, yes. We have activities and we would also organize special activities for uh tourists who came to volunteer in Montenegro.
Interesting, interesting. This is a very interesting idea. So it has the first of all, you have the experience of organizing that, and that's a really good asset. Second, it has a social impact because your intention comes initially from a discovery of a problem, a social impact, and then you want to create it. And then the challenge will be in how to transform this activity that is now maybe it's an activity under an association to become a real business that has not only social impact, but also has scalability and revenues, right? This is basically the chance to work on.
Yes, yes, it is because we don't have because it's relatively new. The offer is really relatively newly defined, so we don't have much going on for now. So, but
Okay.
I think since next year we'll start having more and more applications because
All
we
right.
sent our offers to multiple travel agencies.
All right. Thank you very much. I think this sounds very, very interesting. And see, it shows that you have a certain maturity of thinking. You've been developing something and you see that it reaches a certain point and it can go beyond, right? So thank you for sharing this. All right. Now, guys, I think we got to know each other. Now let's go to the topic of today. Basically, we're gonna work on we're gonna work on what we call lean innovation, and we're gonna. I mean, small. It's a very short time, but we try to do the best during this time to boost the creativity or ideas and to work on what we call creative thinking. Okay. So the session is really about design thinking. But before going into the design thinking, I wanted to tell you about this paper that I really recommend you to read, to check out. It's called Why the Lean Startup Changes Everything, written by Steve Blank. Anybody know Steve Blank? Heard about it or the paper Why the Lean Startup Changes Everything? So Steve Blank is a professor at Columbia University in New York. And he's been teaching entrepreneurship in Colombia for many years. And he used to teach entrepreneurship, saying, okay, we need to put a business plan, we need to build a document, and we need to put forecasts and market studies and market research and all of this. And then one day he found out that actually, by observation, his students, when they launch their businesses, they don't follow what he's teaching them. Or maybe those that follow what he's teaching them are not necessarily the most successful ones. So he called a friend of him called Bob Duff, who was also a serial entrepreneur, and told him, Bob, look, we need to rethink the way we teach entrepreneurship. So tell me, how do you do? Like Bob Duff was like a serial entrepreneur, like launching a business and then selling it and selling it and building another business and selling it and so on. He asked him, tell me, how do you do that? And the answer was, I have an idea, I move to action. And so that pushed the thinking about maybe the way we are teaching entrepreneurship is not correct. Maybe the way we're developing business is not necessarily correct. And out of that came the idea of what we call the lean startup. The lean startup is a business development or entrepreneurship philosophy that goes beyond what we call the business plan. A business plan is a document that has 100 pages, financial forecasts that exceed 5 years. Uh, you need to do advanced than deep market research. But what Steve Blank says is that business plans rarely survive the first contact with customers, which means you can keep spending time on planning, on studying, on doing market research, on doing a forecast for more than 3 or 5 years. But then when you get into the business, into the action, and meet your clients, you find out that actually, no, it's not the client, it's not the product that your client wants. No, it's not exactly that. And you spend so much time and so much money into studying and reviewing. So the approach of lean startup says, all right, instead of spending long time in studying and doing market research and business planning and all these types of studies, well, you know what? The best thing is go to the market, is go meet your clients. And it's based on three principles or approaches. The first one is to say, forget about the business plan that has 100 to 100 pages. Use a BMC. Anybody here knows what's a BMC? I guess yes, right? It's a very popular document now. You know what's a BMC, guys, right? Yes? If yes, do like this. So I know how much are you familiar with the BMC? Good, I see two. So BMC, thank you. How do I pronounce your name? Ikea? Is that correct? So I'm sorry if I mispronounce some names here, but feel free to correct me anytime. I'm sorry. My name as well is a very difficult one, I know. So if anything, let me know. But I wanted to say the BMC, which is the business model Canva, I'm gonna write it in the chat. You can find many resources on that here. It's the easiest way to plan your business in one paper sheet. You can develop very quickly and move on. And then the second principle is get out of the building approach. Get out of the building means don't spend much time thinking, don't overthink your business, but go directly to execution, move to action. And the third approach is what we call agile development, which is more an engineering methodology that is very flexible and agile. I will not spend time on that, just wanted to announce that. But the lean startup is, let's say, the concept that is behind what we call the design thinking approach. So let's move next. Here, actually, we explain a little bit what is the lean process, right? So the lean process is composed at the first part, what we call design thinking, because it's about customer understanding. It's about customer centricity. It's about building empathy with your customer and understand what your customer needs. And based on that, you're going to define assumptions. And the best way to test your assumption is to experiment and test your product. Okay? And then you go into this approach of build, measure, learn. So we're going to build a prototype of our product. We go to the market, we test, and you see what's the feedback of the market. If the market is okay, then we persevere and we keep going. If the market is not okay, then maybe we should change maybe the target, change maybe the product, the features, etc., etc. So it's a very agile methodology. And then in order to do that, you'll have teams of engineers. But these teams of engineers need to be agile because you're going to keep feeding them with a new information, with a new data, with new client feedback, with new approach. So they need to make short plans and execute short plans as well. And if this process is really done in a beautiful way, then you can execute your business in the right way. In this process, we move from concrete to abstract, which means from action, execution, feedback, to abstract, which is concept, theory, short planning, okay? So we iterate from concrete to abstract. I'm going to explain this a little bit more. But before going to the next steps, I'd like to give you some time to react on this. Have you heard about lean startup before? How does that sound to you? Any question on this lean startup approach? Sometimes for people that are not familiar, they might question this because business plan have been here for so long time, for decades, that's anchored in business thinking. When you go to a bank, you ask for credit, banks will ask you for a business plan. When you go to, I don't know, the government asking for support and subsidies, they might ask you for a business plan. The lean startup approach says, no, that's a waste of time. Make small plans, no more than a quarter. That's the maximum you can do. and then jump quickly into execution. So, any question on this? Any idea before moving to the next step? You can use the chat if you have any reaction, um, or just voice your feedback so far. I'll try after every concept to dedicate a few minutes for reactions and feedback, and then I move to the next, so that I make sure that we are all aligned. So if no feedback, no question, it means that everything is. Yeah, very good question from Martina. Is the lean process in some way connected with the Lean Six Sigma? Not really. I mean, the lean management approach is very known approach with the Six Sigma and many other methods that are applied into industry in particular, in manufacturing. Um, Lean startup is completely another approach that emphasizes agility, flexibility for digital mainly startups. In this world of AI and digital and so on, it's very important to be very agile. So it's maybe the common points between lean management and lean startup is the monitoring and the measurement. Because we need to measure impact. When we go and test our products, we need to collect data. And based on the data we collect, we can adjust our offering. So maybe it's a little bit more iterative than what we do in lean management. They have in common the word lean, which means flexibility and agility. The measurement they do have in common, but the lean startup is another concept applied to entrepreneurship, not to industry. It wouldn't work maybe into industry because it needs a huge costs, fixed costs, machines and equipment and so on. But essentially, it's applied to digital startups in particular. So yeah, Wasim is also asking to more explanation. Again, it's a concept that says, in a very simple words, move to action, execute your business, test with your client, don't overplan, don't overthink. And for that, we use design thinking. And that's the topic of today is design thinking, which is the first part of lean, which is the customer centricity. So our goal today is really to develop that customer centricity. The other side of design thinking, for those of you that do engineering or they're in contact with engineers, you have agile development. And agile is the management method used in IT companies to be very flexible with clients' feedback, basically. Okay, anybody is familiar with agile? All right, good. So that's just to set. Thank you, Martina. That's just to set the scope, like the framework we're gonna work on. So we are really into a lean innovation process that looks like that. So out of that, what is design thinking? Very simple. We start from problem. We try to elaborate, execute, and stuff, and find a solution. So maybe what I would add is it has to be a creative solution. Very quickly, I'm going to go to some background. One of the leading companies on design thinking is called IDEO. I don't know if you've heard about IDEO, but I really recommend you guys go and visit their website. I'll show you their website, okay? I hope they still see my screen, right? So I share with you the link for
Yes.
IDEO. Good. So this is the website for IDEO. I really recommend you go and check their website. This is one of the leading companies using design thinking as an approach for creative problem solving. Okay. So they work on all types of projects, right? There is no one type of project that they're working on. It could be industry, it could be building a plane, it could be, I don't know, it could be about health, it could be about digital, it could anything. And that's maybe the power of design thinking, since it could be applied to any domain. It could be for farming, and the lady she talked about the trucks business in the beginning. Maybe we can think about that differently. Maybe you can use the track in a different way. So IDEO is one of the leading companies that's based in San Francisco and works on design thinking for, yeah, from Barbie's Playhouse to supersonic jets. You see the scope, how large it is. So no limits, and it's an approach that fosters creativity and innovation. Now, IDEO is one of the leading into this sector, but let me say it from the beginning. The design thinking is fresh as a concept, even though it's been used in art school or product design school or architecture school since decades. I don't know if we have people here from art or product design or architecture, but design thinking has been used in these disciplines since a long time. It's new to business. In business or startups, it's maybe 10 years, then the design thinking starts to be really implemented into the digital development and startup development, this framework. So it's relatively fresh as a concept, especially for business. Maybe those that do architecture or product design or art, a little bit more familiar with that. Then it's about ambiguity, guys. So I can tell you from the beginning, and remember me, if you hate ambiguity, you'll struggle. So enjoy ambiguity. Like when things are not clear, that's fine. When you don't understand and it's messy and chaotic and all that kind of stuff, that's the normal situation where we apply design thinking. Don't expect to have clear, straightforward information, but expect ambiguity and appreciate ambiguity. Appreciate being lost. Being lost is a way to find creative solutions. Knowing a plan is definite situation where, okay, it's defined, it's conventional. We know it. So it's not ambiguous. Ambiguity is connected to creativity and to innovation. So there is ambiguity in design thinking and about design thinking, and it's normal. So many times I work on design thinking project and I feel people are frustrated or, feeling ambiguous and so on. So just relax. It's fine. It's an opportunity to get lost and not worry about that. Appreciate that moment. It's holistic. It's holistic in a sense that's very comprehensive approach. It involves continuous learning, and it could be taught to anyone. It could be taught to 6-year-old kids to 60 years. I mean, at any time you can do that and practice that. All right, so now let's move into concrete. I don't want to spend much time into this kind of framework and stuff, but I think it's important to understand the background. So step by step, we're moving into concrete, and our goal today is also to do some design thinking together in your own project. So we're gonna dedicate some time to that and get ready. So all of this is kind of mental preparation to understand what does it mean design thinking. But again, every concept, give 2-3 minutes for interaction in case there's a question or something, okay? So let me check the chat. So Mikola, so it works as you can try to sell your product before producing product to understand whether it is needed. Yeah, of course, Mikola. Sell your product, do pre-orders, for instance, right? Do pre-orders, announce your product, and create a website to as a landing page and say if you're interested, pre-order, or if you're interested, subscribe. That's a way to get what we call early adopters in a way, right? I don't like many people say, fake it until you make it. It's very known in the startup scene, but I don't like that very much. I don't think you're really faking it, but just announce what's your product and leverage interest. Make your customer co-creator instead of just a buyer. Make your customer a contributor to building your business. Okay? And you don't have to lie or say that your product is ready or whatever. It's not. It's not that, but more engage your customers from the beginning, from very early stage. At lean startups, you don't spend months over years developing perfect product. Yes. Instead, you quickly build a simple version. Yes. Test with a real user, measure feedback, and learn. That's perfect. It sounds perfect. Nothing to add on that. Tasneem, what's the ideal period for preparation before moving forward with the lean startup method? There is no ideal period, Tasneem. When you feel yourself ready, just jump on. There is no ideal period. So yeah, maybe one thing I can emphasize that it's the timing, the market timing. Okay, because usually innovators or startups they are forward thinking. So what happens is that sometimes they come before the market is ready. Yeah, and your client is not educated. Your client doesn't know about your capabilities or the product of your product. And in that case, you're going to spend a lot of money educating your market. Your clients might not be able to understand you, and that's risky. So, I mean, from an entrepreneurial perspective, um, do some study to see is it a good timing? Do you have some trend? Are there some signals that you can detect to understand the market? But also, there's your own personal readiness. When you feel ready, you can go on. So there is the entrepreneur readiness, but also the market timing. Like a quick example in Tunisia, we have many e-taxi company that started trying to develop the market from 2010, One of them was one of our students. His company is called eTaxi. Started in 2010, and he said, "I want to make my eTaxi company grow until one day Uber comes to Tunisia and buys the company." That was his vision, and which is very interesting and looks very strategic. However, he started and the market was not educated and the market was very much resistant. So he needed to spend much money in B2C, but didn't work. And then he needed to convert into B2B. And then he was not able to make his dream happen at the end of the day. He stayed small. He wasn't able to acquire the market. Why? Because the timing in 2010 or 2011 was too early. Okay? So the market was not ready. And if the market is not ready, either you change the market or you change your product. Okay? So yeah, ideal period for preparation, not really, but make sure to see that your market is ready for your innovation, okay? Safe, sorry, my Zoom was blocked. It's fine, Safe, thank you very much for rejoining. But we'll have obviously opportunities to interact later on. Okay, let's move on. So, what is really design thinking? It's a methodology where we stay in a very chaotic approach. We go into research phase, and from research phase, we're gonna reduce the ambiguity and the chaos to develop a concept. And once we have a concept, we move to prototype. And when we have a prototype, we design, we iterate, and we show to the market. On other terms, we start with a challenge. Your idea, your product could be the challenge could be about building a new idea, or it could be about improvement of an idea. I can give you some examples of design thinking challenges. And we do have in the master degree in the university a course that is challenge based. So we have companies that come and they propose challenges, and then we try to support them with our students to solve this challenge using design thinking. So I'll give you a couple of examples of challenges. First example, it was a food chain called Plombi. And this food chain, they actually produce raw materials like sauces, salads, chicken, all the raw materials for the restaurant actually. And they go deliver the food, the raw materials, starting from 5 a.m. in the morning to a list of maybe 15 to 20 restaurants that are localized in different places. Okay? So the drivers fill in the track with the raw materials, which means salad, bread, chicken, sauces, everything. And they go following a line, a list of restaurants, and then they deliver for every restaurant their raw materials. Of course, the quantity delivered depends on how much the restaurant ordered the day before. Okay? Is the scope clear? Now, here's the challenge. It happens that while delivering, they do mistakes. So, for instance, when they go with the first restaurant, they might give more of a certain product or less of a certain product. And then, since the control does not really happen between the driver and the restaurant, they don't discover that they did a mistake. They just found out about the mistake when? At the end of the delivery. At the last restaurant, the delivery guy finds out that, I don't have enough bread, I don't have enough sauce, I don't have enough salad. And when that happens, it's a crisis situation. Because usually it happens around 11 a.m., 12 a.m., right? 12 p.m., sorry, lunchtime. Lunchtime is rush time. People are asking for food. If there is no enough bread, enough sauces, enough salads, big problem. Unsatisfied client, blah, blah, blah. It's a risky situation, and it's crisis management. So this company came to us and told us, okay, we have this problem of supply chain and raw material delivery within our restaurants. Help us solve it. Okay? So that was the challenge. What did we do? Well, actually, some students went 5 a.m. to do the journey of the driver. So they were co-driving with the delivery guy, observing every single detail, and that's empathy. So go meet people, go meet your stakeholders, the restaurant, the drivers, and everyone. And then building empathy, trying the why mistakes happen, why the driver is not focused on that time, why the restaurant or the food chain do not trace the delivery. And then when you have your answers to the why, you start ideating. I say, I know now it's because of this or that. Maybe if we propose the solution, we can solve it out. Okay? And then if you have this assumption of a solution, it's QR code system, blockchain based, whatever, mobile app that traces the products and the food, warning system that does this and that, whatever is the solution, you need to go and test it. Test it with your end client. So it's not enough to say, we think we have the solution. You need to go and experiment it with your client, which is the last phase. So these 4 to 5 steps are essential for the process of design thinking. Okay? And you go and test with a prototype, and it's fine. I can give you 2 other examples of design thinking that we did. I mean, I can give you the ones we have now a master degree, and we are running three design thinking actually flows on 3 projects. First one, it is a textile company. Okay, they produce shoes. There is a line of production. There are women cutting actually leather in the line. But sometimes problem happen at a specific spot in the line. It takes more time, the leather is not good, the machine is not good, the worker is not concentrated, something like that. It happens that in the line, you cannot discover that in real time. You just discover the day after that the production went down during the D-Day. And you haven't been able to discover that there is a problem at a certain point of the production management. So they built a tablet where actually the tablet should help trace and track the timing for every task done by the women workers on the chain management. But the women were not using the tablet. They were not signaling every action they are doing. So the challenge that we have is how can we engage women operators to track the timing of every task they do? Not to mention that they were fearing excessive supervision, which puts also a human resource issue. So usually the problems are really messy and complex. You think maybe it's just an operation management problem, but you find out it's a human resource problem. It could be different types of problems in the same challenge. And that's why the empathy phase is so essential. It's so important. Okay? I give you the last example that we're working on also right now. I see that many of you are interested into agriculture and farming. And this third example might be interesting also to share with you. It's a startup. Its name is Saba. They found out that actually farmers have a difficulty to access to funding. And this difficulty is very complex for farmers because they don't have guarantees. They don't have what we call a collateral. They don't have land ownership because of heritage issues and stuff, etc. And they have a season. They have a seeding season, and then have a harvesting season. And between the 2 seasons, you need money. You need money to fund the seeding. You need money for your workers. You need money for the harvesting and everything. And they usually lack of money. But when they go to the banks to ask for credits, banks tell them, you guys don't have guarantees. You don't have collateral, or you don't have this and that. So there's struggle. Or sometimes even the farmers, they don't know how to prepare an application for a bank credit. So this startup named Saba decided to play the role of what we call middleman, facilitation, help farmers connect with banks, and also not only banks, but also agro-food transformation companies, and tell them, okay, you fund them now, they get the harvesting, they will reimburse you at their harvesting, and we take commission. And we do the role of the facilitation. Okay? So we have now a design thinking challenge, working on that, trying to find the best way to convince the farmers and to convince the banks, because both are stakeholders. Those are 3 examples of design thinking. And we go through all these phases: challenge, people, empathy, ideation, prototype, in all these. Okay. Any question or reaction before moving to the next step? Or maybe a reaction on the 3 cases I shared with you? Your reactions help me. So anything you want to react on could be super helpful. Or question or interest, maybe. I don't know. Maybe interest into the solutions that have been developed.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Teresa Simone. Right now I'm driving. It's therefore also don't have the video, but I
No
stopped
problem.
to
No
ask
problem.
the
No problem.
question. Let
No
me see
problem.
one moment. Maybe I can have it because I stopped. Wait a moment. Can
Thank
you
you.
see
Thank you.
me? Yeah, but
Yeah.
I have a question because shortly I'm Italian. I have been living in Denmark for many years, and I have a degree in marketing, international marketing. But right now I'm studying psychology, and
Wow.
I will totally change. How can I say the kind of job? So now I have a project to start a cultural company. I mean, to mix psychology and music. I would like to create events with the psychology and music. All the things we are talking about are also related to services because you gave many examples about products. What about the services? Is it the same?
First of all, thank you very much for bringing the psychology on the game. I think that's very interesting. And in fact, as long as we're starting talking about empathy, then we need to talk about the psychology. And when we talk about psychology, we talk about a human, and we know how human are complex and how human can be irrational. Then, which means digging deeper into this psychology, empathy, biases, behavioral aspect is essential. That's to react on the psychology because I think that's fundamental. Even though we don't have the time to really go deeper into that today, but thank you for bringing that up. Also, I really love the project, the idea of the project, mixing music and psychology. I think it makes a lot of sense. Using music for therapy and for so many things, I guess. And I'd love to hear more about that when we have time. Now, is it only for products? No, it could be for a digital platform. It could be for a service. It could be for a physical product. It could be for it could be even for, let's say, family discussion, right? I want to convince my daughter about something, about an idea. I want to sell her an idea, right? So I need to build empathy with her so I understand how does she think. And then when I understand that, I need to test my proposal so I don't give my proposal totally. I'll give just a fragment of it. And I see her reaction. And depending on her reaction, I can decide either to continue or pivot. You know what I mean? So this process applies to everything. It applies to service, it applies to product, it applies to ideas, it applies to politics, it applies to so many things. I'll talk about the principles of how to do it. But yeah, of course, applies totally into service. Totally. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Uh, I see, Mykola. Am I understanding correctly that for the last example, the person is taking no risk as it is simply a percentage of helping the farmers to find someone to sell and how to deliver? Well, is he taking a risk? Um, I think so. I mean, there's a reputation risk here because if he brings to the bank bad clients, then the bank will not renew the collaboration. If he give promises to the farmer and the farmer does not get outcome of it, then the farmer will not renew and will not work again. This role of middleman is essential in business because it reduces what we call asymmetry of information. Sometimes you have two sides of the same business, but they don't understand each other. They don't know how to communicate with each other. So this role of what we call middleman plays a role of facilitation, fluidify information, and taking the risk of his time at the end of the day. Because if a deal is not concluded, then he lost his time without any result. Okay, so no, there is risk involved, and those are very hard businesses, by the way, because you need to build trust with everyone, and trust not is not an easy thing. Well, but it's not only for, I mean, think about Airbnb. Airbnb, it's a company that is valued now more than $150 billion. That's crazy, right? $150 billion. This is more than the GDP of some countries. Airbnb, what do? They play a role of middleman. You post your house, then there are guests that come, they join, they connect, they get it, and then they take commission. So this type of commission model is very common. It's a role of facilitator. Airbnb, Amazon, Uber, all these are that type of business, of course. Raad, you want to say something?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yes, I actually, first of all, thank you for this amazing opportunity that I had to join with everyone. And I just heard Teresa about her cultural startup. And earlier I wanted to share my own when we were talking about if anyone had a startup or they want to promote it. I didn't have the chance. If I could just mention it real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. That's entrepreneurship, seizing the opportunity.
Yes. Well, I basically for everyone before I'm from Tunisia. I'm a multilingual entrepreneur, passionate about culture, communication, and education. So my startup, it's very simple. The idea generated from my daily usage of language learning apps. So I decided to start my own startup called Global Language Connect. It's basically a new generation of language learning and cultural exchange platform designed to make learning more human, social, and accessible. So generally, I noticed millions of people around the world want to learn a language, connect with people, not just for grammar or exams, especially for English, Spanish, these global languages. And I noticed this in my own country, Tunisia. Many people are trying to improve their skills in their language, whether if they want to join a university or travel or work. So that's where Global Language Connect comes in. I started it with Spanish, creating my own courses and active club. Then I realized this model could scale globally. So the platform connects learners, native speakers, and tutors in a vibrant community where they can chat, learn, collaborate through many structured sessions and cultural activities. So it's not just random messages. So it's basically like an online platform, school, community app to learn languages. And I scale this also for with my tourism expertise. My family worked in tourism as well. I try to scale this with it, and I'm trying to develop it. Well, I try to keep it short right now, and I wanted to highlight you, Sir Nauman. I wanted to mention this. Maybe we can discuss it even later, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. It looks very interesting. Um, I just had a question, maybe to better understand the business. Is it peer-to-peer learning or is it experts to like people learning to users?
That's the thing. It is peer-to-peer, and actually tutors can join. There are structured courses for people. So I just told you, I started it with my own Spanish courses,
Yeah.
and then I collected professors from each place, even normal people who want to teach languages, and I connected them with learners. I connected them also with people who are looking for jobs here, but they're lacking in German, in Spanish, in Italian, etc. And they kind of formed them. It's really low cost compared to the other institutes where they teach languages, like let's say like 15 hours for $200 or something. That's too much, where you can
Yeah.
just log in and learn by yourself.
Yeah, very good. I just shared with you a startup named Speak Duo. Um, I think one of our master degree student is one of the co-founder of the business, and I'll be happy to connect you guys because I think he worked with them and then he left them. I'm not sure, but Speak Duo works on peer-to-peer language education. So I'll be happy to connect you if you want afterwards, so that you have a
Yes,
discussion and so on.
definitely.
Check out Speak Duo.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Eldar,
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
yes, we do hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just curious about the three cases that you mentioned. So the second case in which there were the workers that weren't putting in the necessary information for what they were doing in the tablets. So I was thinking that the solution, the possible solution in that case, could be incentivizing the workers, i.e., stimulating them instead of forcing more stress and observation on them. So I was curious on what your opinion on this was, because the reason that I brought it up in chat as well in the first place is because at least here, the business owners, employers, proprietors, however you want to call them, uh, mostly go down the polar opposite route of that. They enforce punishments, threats, cutbacks, and the like instead of incentivizing and giving either more funding, possible bonuses, and the like to their employees. So I was just curious, would this be a more plausible solution than what the status quo is?
Okay. Thank you very much. Very good question and very good solution. But I'll give you my feedback, okay, based on what we are doing so far, because this is a real case we're working on. So, yes, the answer is yes. We could think about an incentive of doing that and get, of course, extra money or a bonus at the end of the month based on either productivity or how accurate are the estimates. That's, of course, a solution we could think about, okay? And it's interesting. Not only a sanction and it's not only fear of failure. But I tell you why. I tell you what we found actually, and that's why I want to really emphasize the point of empathy. Because usually when we do this empathy, we discover what we call unhidden problems, or hidden problems, I'm sorry, hidden problems, and we need to unveil these. Sometimes we don't see them, the problems. So we need to go really on the ground, meeting the users, seeing them in their natural workplace, listening to them, discussing with them to explore other things. So when the students went into the factory, we discovered a couple of things that make the challenge even more complex. First thing, they discovered then that the raw materials, the type of leather that the workers get, is not uniform. So sometimes it has a shape, another time it has another shape. And you guess what? Depending on the shape, the time the worker needs to spend on that raw material would increase. However, the tracking system and the timing system and even the norms they have inside the factory do not take into account the quality or the shape of the raw material, which increase the complexity. Because at the end of the day, you cannot judge for a timing that is not the responsibility of the worker. It's because of the raw material is not good. So we need to think about that more and more and more and say, okay, how can we correct that based on the raw material? This is one. Two, in the factory, they had a big screen that shows the performance of every worker in a real time and shows high performing workers and low performing workers, okay? That, of course, increased fear of failure inside the workers themselves, so they were not very accurate. And then one student told me they went to talk with the supervisor, with the factory supervisor, and they asked him, "You saw on the screen there are 60% underperforming. Why don't you go and check them?" The supervisor had no answer. Actually, he was not paying even attention to the screen. So the question becomes different. Why the supervisor is not paying attention to the screen? Maybe the supervisor anyway does not believe in the data on there. Maybe this, maybe this, maybe that. Okay? So, I mean, others just want to share it with you to say, yes, your proposal might work. And I insist on might. The only way to know if it works or not is by testing it on the ground. Right? No one can tell you this will work or will not. We tell you, yeah, it's interesting. Let's go and test it. Let's go and test it for 1 week and put a financial bonus. And if they do it and works well, then it's validated. The only way to validate the idea is to test it on the ground. That's one thing. The second thing is this. What we might think as a challenge or as a problem is not maybe the correct one. And that's what we need to understand to re-ask the question of what is this challenge, why is that, what's happening, etc., etc. And so it's an exploration methodology, and that's why I told you you need to get somehow familiar with being lost, navigating ambiguity. It's part of the game. Does that answer your question, Elder?
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate your answer. I just also wanted to add one more quick thing. It
Yes.
so when it comes to managers and CEOs, owners, uh, majority of them are have a very subjective approach to the business. So they have passion because usually it's their business and it's something that they get out of it. Whereas the employees, the workers, have no subjective interest in the company. They're there to earn a wage, and that's pretty much it. And I think that a lot of the managers and employers are disassociated and disconnected from the employees in that regard, where they think, oh, they're going to put in 140% effort like me because I work 60 hours a week and they only work 40. They're going to improve because of cutbacks, because of stress, because of et cetera, instead of the only reason that they're there, which is the wage itself. And that's it for me. Thank you.
A very good point. Well, now let me ask a question. What is the consequence of what you said? What you said is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Business owners are biased, right? They don't see the picture as other users.
Yes.
What's the consequence of that from an
Quelle
entrepreneurial
solution, hein?
point of view? And this is a hard thing, actually.
I think the consequences. Well, I can only go from local experience. So here, the consequence of that is usually ending up firing the people that don't
Oh,
that don't
total.
go
Yeah,
by the rules that you've set forth. Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
They use a very known quote, which is, "Oh, if you don't want to work, we'll find someone else who will." Uh,
Yeah.
the possible consequence that could arise from that is that, considering that the mentality is shifting with every year, with every new generation, the opinions, the processing, everything is changing. So there will come a time where a certain generation is going to be not condone, they won't condone such behavior, and they won't be able to find replacements after they end up firing people, but that they will need to change their approach to the entire business system.
So yeah, I agree. One of the first consequences is misunderstanding of the behavior, misunderstanding of the reasons of lack of productivity. And if you misunderstand, you take wrong decisions, and wrong decisions are not good for the company.
Mhm.
That's one consequence. But I want to add another consequence. That is, it is hard for entrepreneurs to do design thinking for their own business. Why? Because it's your own business, so you become blind. You're biased, right? We are biased. I can tell you, for me in my business in my startup, it's hard for me to apply design thinking in my own business, even though I know all the process and the methodology and so on. But when I try to apply it to my own business, I am biased. I have my own ideas and assumptions and understanding and so on. I need to fight them. So usually having somebody external doing design thinking for you is better than doing it for yourself. Still, you can do it for yourself, but just you need to neutralize your point of view. You need to neutralize your assumptions or your bias. If you can't do that, you can apply design thinking yourself. Otherwise, it's usually good and healthy to have somebody external doing it for your company and your challenge. Sounds good?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, let's move on. So, also talking about design thinking, I think it's really important to go through this. We call the double diamond model. The double diamond model because actually, in terms of process, we combine what we call divergent thinking. You see, for instance, let's say we start at this blue point in the beginning, right? You see, discover. We start there, discovering what is the challenge, as we did for the women workers. We said, oh, maybe it's incentive. Oh, maybe it's the quality of the raw materials. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's this. So we call that divergent thinking. We list all the options and explanations and assumptions possible. So we do what we call divergent thinking. We diverge. We go into multiple directions. But then, when we need to say, to define and to move forward, we're going to converge, well, that's the green part that you see here, needs value and touch points, and we convert actually to one single point, which is a specific problem. So we're going to explore different options and alternatives, divergent thinking. Then we say, okay, this problem is not important. This one, maybe it's not validated. This one is not true. This one is complex. We'll keep only this one. That will be our challenge we're going to work on. So we go converge, diverge, then converge. But then when we arrive to a problem, we start building solutions. And when we propose solutions, we say, oh, there are multiple options to solve this problem. It could be HR, it could be bonus, it could be AI, it could be this, it could be that. So there are multiple space to define a big number of solutions. So we diverge again. And that's the purple zone here, which is called ideation and brainstorming. But you know what? Not all ideas are good. Some of them are expensive, some of them are not feasible, some of them are illegal, you name it. So in that case, we go to do sorting again. We're going to eliminate the ideas that we cannot do, that are expensive, that are illegal, this and that. And we're going to keep one. Keep one that actually succeed in that test of sorting. And for that one, you know what we're going to do? We will not validate it. We will prototype it. We will build a prototype, or what we call also a minimum viable product. And we go test MVP with our end client. Okay? And then the feedback of my end client will feed my thinking. And that's thanks to that thinking that, I will iterate and build and improve. So we call this the diamond model. It's very a thinking exercise. It's a thinking modeling. Because usually people, when you pose a problem or something, usually people very quickly jump into solutions. We should not do that. Okay? The solutions that we have in our brain, just leave them in a kind of box somewhere in our brain. We'll get back to them after. But just open the possibilities to get lost, again. Give the possibility to the entrepreneur to find, explore different ways of thinking, different opportunities and ideas. And then to validate, we sort, we select, we test. And then we generate the ideas, and then we can bring the idea that we left in a box in the beginning and bring it up again and say, oh yeah, maybe this one will work, or maybe not. And then we're gonna prototype. Okay? So this is also changing our thinking mindset. So I like saying when people ask what is design thinking, okay? As a definition, there are some definitions that say design thinking is thinking how to design, right? Thinking how to design a product, thinking how to design a service, thinking how to design anything. I like to say it's also designing how to think. Because at the end of the day, the machine that we are using to propose the solution is our brain. And our brain has different thinking styles. It can think creatively, it can think rationally, it can think pragmatically, critically. All these type of thinkings should not be working on the same time, because they will handicap each other. Like you cannot think creatively if you're thinking too rationally. Rationality beats creativity in all games. The rational part of our brain is super strong. It kills creativity. This is not feasible. The law does not allow. It's expensive. I have no resources. It will bring it also. Creativity will say, okay, fine, do whatever you want. So, for instance, combining creative thinking and rational thinking is not healthy. Just have the time to think creatively, then stop the time and think rationally. But don't put them together. One will kill the other. And that's it, all about designing how to think, or being this kind of diamond model, alternating different types of thinking. I see Martina saying, in this model, you need to find clients that are open to experiment your prototyping. That is not so common. So also research for real testers must be done at the beginning. Good question, Martina. We call them usually early adopters, okay? We call them early adopters usually. So there are conditions that define early adopters. So first of all, they should be should be non-biased. Okay, which means My mom, my brother and sister, my wife, all the people that love me and will say me nice things, those are not early adapters. Okay, not validated, right? If they are not giving a honest, clear feedback and sometimes harsh feedback, they don't count. So first of all, non-biased. Second, um, they should be in love, of course, of the idea or the product. So they're willing to take risk with me. They're expecting something like that. They're looking for innovation like that. So they can't wait to test with you, and they're willing to test it with you and to be co-creators with you. Maybe you tell me it's hard to find. Yeah, I mean, try. Do some marketing campaign on Meta or on Instagram. Create a group of Facebook or Meta or Instagram and say, okay, I want to do this. How anybody wants to join? Maybe the first that will join will be your early adapters. Social media facilitates a lot of things. And at the third condition, they should pay for the product. Giving it for free for them is not good. If you give for free, then they will tell you nice words, or they will avoid any embarrassing you and stuff. We want them really to pay, so that if it hurts, it hurts. So they feel the price. It's not only testing the product; it's also testing the pricing. You can do a promo if you want. A promotion, a discount, 10%, 20%. You judge. That's fine. You can propose something like that to onboard them and to show that you appreciate. Uh, that you appreciate. Martin is saying free things has no value. Absolutely. So make them pay. Propose a price. Give a promotion if you want or a discount. Give lifetime price, but make them pay in a way or another. Because if they pay, that's real early adopters that are willing to pay, and you test not only your product but also the price that can be fixed. Okay, and then they will give you a strict, honest feedback. So these are maybe 3 points to help you identify your early adopters, your product testers, and this can help a lot. In fact, moving forward. Okay. All right. So those are the 6 principles of design thinking that I'd love to share with you because, these 6 principles, you should put them on a paper, on a screen in front of you, and apply them religiously. Some of them are counterintuitive. Some of them make sense, but it has to be applied in a very religious way, disciplined way, very disciplined way. So it's chaos, okay? But in chaos, we can put systems to navigate chaos. It's ambiguity. It's okay, but we need to put systems to know how to navigate into ambiguity, right? So, first principle, bias toward action. What does that mean? It means that we uh, prioritize action over thinking. So thinking quickly, execute quickly, right? Sometimes you can say, no, it's clumsy. This is not prudent. This is not wise. How can I go quickly to action and my product is not ready? And then there's an emotional challenge for that. Like if my car give me negative feedback and I'm not ready yet, I will feel it. Nobody wants to have negative feedback. Well, I know that is true. But still, it's a principle. Bias toward action. Go test and test it with fun. Enjoy doing it and learn from that experience. There is risk being taken, and it's risk that has to be calculated. Right? Don't take excessive risk. Don't go public very quickly. Go with early adopters, test, experiment, and move and iterate. Is that clear? First principle: bias toward action. Usually, what I get as feedback in this, yeah, but that's risky and my product is not ready. How can I do that? Find a way to control your risk. And this is like in laboratory. When you're in a laboratory experimenting, you define a certain number of variables, you fix them, and you test in a controlled environment. Still, it is testing. Okay? That's principle number 1. Principle number 2, collaborate across boundaries, which means here, the community that we have here in this Zoom call is so amazing. It's so extraordinary. And I'm sure if we build teams mixed between you guys from different countries, different perspectives, and so on. And would give you different types of challenges. The potential of creativity will be so huge because everyone will bring a new way of thinking, a new approach, new culture and aspect, and that will feed creativity, will enrich creativity. Of course, collaborating across boundaries, meaning also know how to work in teams, um, avoid to be judgmental, know how to build bonds, and collaborate and understand the diversity each one is bringing to the team. Sounds good? Number three, focus on human value. And this is what Ildar has been saying earlier about business owners, saying that business owners think about money, so they wouldn't focus enough on human values. That's correct. I mean, most of the cases, of course, not all of them are like that. But designers, we need to focus on human values because understanding human values matters to develop products and services, and that's the best way to do it. I'm sorry. Number four, be mindful of process. Earlier, I told you it's not ambiguity, okay? It's chaos. But to master chaos and ambiguity, we need to have a process, a guideline, a blueprint. So this blueprint is design thinking. When it's empathy, we do empathy correctly. Experimentation, we do it correctly. Ideation, we do correctly. We separate creative thinking from rational thinking. We don't evaluate or judge ideas when we are generating ideas. So we need to explain and apply the process in a very disciplined way. And by the way, applying it in a disciplined way reduces frustration. Because you're saying, I'm applying the rules, right? I'm just applying the rules to learn, to do, and develop my product. It's not me in the stake. I'm putting in place a process to test my product. Following the process. So that reduces the frustration or the stress of being judged or being afraid of failure. And failure is part of the game anyway. Number five, prototype toward the solution. I think this is clear. We talked about this since the beginning. And number six, show, don't tell. Once you have an idea, I mean, talking about it, it's okay, but better is to test it. Not just to tell me about your idea. Show me the screens, show me the visual. Let's experiment it. Let's see how it works, and then we will decide. Those are the six principles or pillars of design thinking. Any question? And Mikola is saying negative reviews are just extra information about products that needs to be changed, isn't it? Yes, it's true. And I'll add something on that. Mikola is like negative reviews are better than no reviews, right? Better have negative reviews than no reviews at all. No reviews at all, it means nobody cares about what you're proposing, right? That's more dangerous or sensitive. Negative reviews means that people did tests and were unsatisfied. And if we understand how they are unsatisfied, we can improve. So negative reviews are even better, or average reviews. We don't wish negative reviews to anyone, but like 2 or 3 over 5 stars is better than no stars. Okay? Think about going to the restaurant. Would you choose going to a restaurant that has no reviews or a restaurant that has 3 stars review? See what I mean? Yeah, and Eldar is saying that negative publicity is sometimes better than positive publicity, at least to bolster your name and people's knowledge. That I don't know. That we need an expert in marketing. I also hear that. I'm sure there are contexts or situations where that works, and maybe other contexts and situations where that doesn't work. But that's more kind of a branding and marketing perspective. All right. Any question on the 6 principles? Giving some time to react. All right, let's move on. I'll skip some parts because I want to dedicate some time also to exercising. Just wanted to show, I know there's a book that's called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I guess you know this book that shows how different of behavior and thinking. We can use that as an analogy to say, like, managers are from Mars, designers are from Venus. Managers are usually looking to discipline, control, and stability, whereas designers are more into chaos, ambiguity, and experimentation. So this is also to reflect on what Ildar said earlier, the difference between the business manager, the design manager, and the designers. The designers are always playing and having fun trying to explore the product, whereas the design manager converts a product into price, and the business is thinking about money potentially. So now we are the designer, where those here in the bottom of this image trying to explore what kind of options and solutions we can build together, right? Yeah, this is I skipped this part, takes a little bit time. I want to move to action as well with you guys. So there's a lot of materials I'd be happy to share it with you, but the designer is always between the marketing and the engineers. I'll skip all of this because I want to go to having some practical examples with you guys, okay? So I want you, maybe we have now 30 minutes, a little bit less. And we want to work on some problem together, some challenges together. So I'm going to share with you this slide in editing mode. Okay. Uh, and I'd love to see challenges that you guys are interested on or want to work on. So I share the link of this Google slide with you on the chat. It says frame your problem. The very first point is like, okay, what's the problem you want to work on? How can we help X specific? I mean, use the same framing that is mentioned here. How can we help X specific user solve X specific problem? And I added post-its here. You just need to copy paste them and change the editing. I'm putting an alternative problem. Just if you guys, for instance, don't have a problem, I'm suggesting one that could be. I mean, if you want to work on it, which is how can we help wellness coaches develop paid training sessions, for instance. I have a project now in a master's degree working on a wellness hub platform, and so I said, okay, why not proposing this as an alternative? But again, not an obligation. I prefer if you choose yours, it's more engaging. But just want to show an example. So we're working on wellness coaches that want to develop paid online coachings, but they struggle to find people that actually pay online for coaching sessions. So we frame the challenge as how can we help wellness coaches? Our users are wellness coaches. Develop. What's the problem? Pay training sessions. So they want to make money. Think about it as, for instance, what kind of wellness coaching we can talk about. Can talk about I don't know, online yoga coaching, or we can talk about stress management coaching, work-life balance coaching. And these coaches want to develop this online. How could they do it online, right? And make it pay. But again, that's just an example. In case of you don't have an idea, that's one you want to work on. Other than that, just choose a square like this, just copy paste it, right? And write I want to help specific user solve specific problem. And add your name so that we can interact on that. My name is from, so that we know also where you're from. What about this? Okay, you just need to take this square again. You copy paste it. You can change the color out here, uh, and draft. How do you see it? I see some of you connected here, as you can see on the bottom of the slide. And in the meantime, if you have questions to me, please go ahead. We'll try to frame some problems and try to reflect on them. Okay. Maybe at least in today's session, if we're able to work on reframing, because the first step is really, okay, what's the challenge I want to work on, and how can I reframe it? Okay, so at least maybe if we can start with that point, reframing the challenge, that would be really good today. So I see somebody writing the solution for the wellness coaches. So solution for how to help wellness coaches provide to every individual customized plan based on his or her goal and taking into consideration their preferences. All right, thank you very much. However, this is too early. This is too early. We are just still at the problem phase. So yeah, that might be a solution. Maybe yes, maybe no, but it's too early. And now the mindset that we want is a critical mindset, is a mindset that is questioning, even the problem, right? I think it's too early for the solution right now. We can move to the solution once we uh, develop empathy with the coaches or with the users, spend some time with some assumptions, and once we have the assumptions, we can actually start ideating. And once we ideate, we propose solutions. One of them could be the one you're proposing, of course, but it's too early right now. We have Wasim. My goal is to help people with asthma live safely. Interesting. Thank you very much for sharing that, Wasim. I will add it myself to one of the boards here, right? I'll add it here. Okay. Although I prefer using the formulation that we have, which is how can we help X specific user solve X specific problem. help people with asthma live safely. Adults have PC, no problem. Then we have, I want to help e-commerce owners reduce shopping cart abandonment rates, solve reduce friction in the checkout process, build trust, and make sales and remove surprise. Very good problem statement, Mikola. It's very interesting. It's well defined, it's precise, and it means that you are into business. I mean, it's either your business or working for business, something like that, because so precise means that you are in the business, right? Are you?
Yeah, yeah.
Also share with you a startup that I know that actually work on this problematic. It's called BuzzBeep. I'll send you the link because they work on this problematic, in fact. Sorry.
Can you share a link in the Zoom?
Yeah, exactly. I will. This is their website. I guess you see it, right? But they use.
Actually, I'm not. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I just added into the your box.
Thank you.
It's a startup that has been incubated in our incubator, just if you want to check them out. But still, I mean, the challenge remains here, and then we need to work on it. I mean, my solution is smart jacket made of carbon fiber that provides gentle messages to help people with asthma breathe more easily and prevent breathing problems. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Asim, you're providing the problem and the solution. Choose one of them. Either you choose the problem, and then we need to ideate to find multiple types of solutions, or you say, I'm already developing the smart jacket, but I have problems inside it that I would like to fix. We always start from a problem. We don't start from a solution. So either the problem is the first one, which is helping people with asthma, or you tell me we already have the smart jacket. We have this problem. Maybe it's costing too much, or maybe it doesn't work effectively, or people don't like it, or I don't know. It has to be in a problem status, not a solution status. I want to help local proprietors in solving the problem with boosting worker mentality and determination and better interpersonal relationship. My name is Eldar. Okay, I want to help local proprietors in solving the problem with boosting worker mentality and determination. Local proprietors, boosting worker mentality. What do you mean by local proprietor, Eldar?
Sorry. So I was referring to local business owners, so or CEOs in Bosnia.
Okay. Okay. Are they CEOs of digital startups or small, medium companies? Could you precise what type of business is that?
So my main focus is because not everything is still digitalized here. We're leaning into it slowly over the years. I'm referring more so to just standard privatized companies that do anything from uh, telecommunications to I don't know, customer support to businesses that create certain goods. So
Okay.
more physical.
Okay, mostly SMEs, I guess, right?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
SMEs, small and medium enterprises?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe in that case, if we put like CEOs of SMEs, in a country or place in solving the problem of when you say of, for instance, lack of worker determination, lack of worker. When you say worker mentality, what do you mean by worker mentality?
Basically, their approach to the job, to the company, so their mentality.
Engagement?
Sorry?
Just engagement?
Engagement. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so maybe engagement is better here.
Yes.
And determination, we can keep determination. And better person relationship. Yeah, this is better. So here it's more precise, you see. I want to help CEOs of SMEs in a specific country solving the problem of lack of worker engagement and determination. Okay? This is better. The more precise we are, the better it is. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. We have, I want to have tourists travel more sustainably. Okay, very good. So we talk about sustainability here, Isidora. We are certainly talking about environment, about exploring local culture, right?
Yes, exactly. I come from Montenegro, and we are the first like officially ecological country. But our
Very good.
tourism is mostly based around cruise ship tourism, which is mass tourism. So in small towns like Kotor, in the
We don't hear you anymore.
Hello?
Yes, yes, now we hear you.
Yeah, sorry. We are out of electricity right now.
Sorry for that. No problem.
Yeah, it happens. So what I was saying before, I do live in Montenegro. I do work as a tour guide, and we get a lot of tourists. So a small town like Kotor, which is in the Boca Bay, the town center has around 500 people living in it, the
Okay.
old town center, but we get up to 2,000, 5,000 tourists a day, even more
Okay.
in the old town. So that's a very unsustainable way
Perfect.
to
Yes.
have tourists.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for sharing that. And there are multiple ways, in fact, to address that problem. Okay.
Yes,
Uh,
I'm like promoting backpacking tourism, eco lodges, and so on.
yeah, controlling the flow of tourists as well. You need to work. Travel agencies are stakeholders here, etc., etc. Okay. So now, what I'm going to try to give you, once you have these problems, I want to give you some exercises that you can do to apply design thinking on these challenges. Okay. So I'll tell you what are the steps we can do. Of course, I have here other proposals by Ines. My goal is to help people explore the world safely by creating a network of safe and reliable information points. Okay. I want to help industrial workers reduce work-related diseases and improve their health and safety at work. And that's WM from MSB. Thanks, WM. All right. So now we have these challenges. We need to find ways to solve them. So how are we going to do that? I'll show you the first step with an example, of course. This is a template for a similar problem, right? The problem is we want to reduce congestion in our city, traffic congestion in our city. So actually, as I said, in design thinking, it is possible that the problem we have defined in the beginning is not the correct one. So the first thing that we should do is redefine the problem. Okay? In the problem redefinition, there are two ways. Either we are going to enlarge the problem understanding, or we're going to narrow the problem understanding. Which means, and maybe we can take an example together right now. This is an example, again, of reduced traffic congestion in a city. I guess now all cities or big cities suffer from this traffic congestion thing, especially if there is no public transport. So we are going to reframe the problem. Again, first assumption, first point is to say, maybe the problem as we defined it is not correct. Or maybe we can define it differently. So let's say, okay, ask yourself, what's another reason this matter? Like why should we reduce traffic congestion? Why does this matter? To answer that question, we're going to say we want to reduce traffic congestion to reduce stress. Or we want to reduce traffic congestion so that people can go to work faster. Or maybe we should encourage home-based work so that we reduce traffic congestion. That reason matters. Or this matters because the roads are not easy to take, so maybe we should promote bikes or something like that. And by doing that, we reframe the problem by saying, instead of how reducing traffic congestion, we would say, how can we encourage alternative of personal cars? So we create a switch in the problem definition. Or how can we identify ways of smart work time organization? Because you know what? There's traffic congestion because everybody goes to work at the same time. And if everybody goes at the same time, then there's traffic congestion. So the problem is not really maybe the traffic and the road and the cars. Maybe the problem is just simply adjusting the work time organization. Some people would start at 8, others at 9, etc., and then we put a system that manages that. Or how can we help employers to adapt working styles that reduce this traffic congestion? So here we're trying to enlarge the problem. Instead of being narrow to congestion, we enlarged. And we'll take an example together right now. The other way is to say, no, you know what? Traffic congestion exists because there's so many problems. Maybe because of, public transportation is so bad. And the government does not have money to spend on that. So that's why I have traffic congestion. Or maybe there are political barriers to enforce laws of owning cars per household. Like you should have only one car per household. That's too constraining and it's not a lot of freedom. So here it's actually, we're going to try to ask, okay, what are the barriers that do not help us reduce the traffic congestion? And then we will redefine the problem. The new problem would be how to improve the quality of public transportation so that people prefer them over their own cars. So they would take more public transportation. Or another idea is how can we incentivize families to own one car instead of 2 or 3, or mutualize that. Okay. Now what we're going to try to do is take one of the examples you guys provided, one of the problems, and we work on it together as a way to redefining the problem scope. Okay, I'll get back to the slide that you proposed. Let me take one of these that we can work on. I'm hesitating. I'm hesitating between the problem of Mikola on the e-commerce platform or the one on sustainability by Isidora. Which one you recommend? Which one interests you more? The one is more business, the other one is more sustainability oriented. Second one, sustainability. Let's go. First come, first served. Will not take much time deciding. We'll take the first one. Thanks, Sanil. So I take that problem. I'll place it in the middle. Okay. I want to help tourists act more sustainably. So first thing I'd say, okay, ask yourself, what's another reason? What's another reason this matter? Like, why is this important? Okay, why is this important? By the way, you can write in the chat, or I'd say, yeah, I want to tourist travel sustainably to reduce CO2 emissions, for instance, because the more there are tourists in a small town, then there are CO2 emissions, and that's bad for environment, right? Or why another reason matter? Uh, we want to tourists to travel more sustainably to have a better local experience. Okay? I'll take a third one. Why want tourists to travel sustainably? Any option? Well, Martina will finish in 2 minutes. I'm just trying to go to the end of this, okay? So if I say, okay, to reduce CO2 emissions, I will redefine the problem by saying a new definition of the problem becomes, how can we reduce CO2 emissions of tourists? You see what I mean? This is a shift in the problem definition. Now I try to use another shift, and I say, okay, why is it impossible? Why is it difficult to make tourists travel sustainably? It's because travel agencies do not care about sustainability. They care only about money, right? I'll change the color here just to distinguish between this and the other one. And then once I redefine, I say this is an obstacle, then I have another definition of the challenge, which becomes, how can we help travel agencies care more about sustainable tourism? Okay? So this is what we call a shift in the challenge definition. And that's the most important part. That's where actually, so we can work on this problem, or we can work on this problem. That's another decision that we need to take. But this is the first step of design thinking. It's really reframing the problem. All right, so I still have 1 minute in the session. Now, normally the next step is to go to empathy. So for instance, talking about CO2 emissions, we need to go develop empathy with tourists or with the stakeholders that are engaged in pollution. Or talking about travel agencies, we need to go to talk to travel agencies and build empathy with them and propose solution to them. Okay? Since the time is limited, and I hope we'll have more opportunities, I tried really to focus on the problem definition here. But I leave the 1 minute that remains maybe for feedback or questions or anything you see for future collaboration. Any feedback, question, idea? So now what we try to do today is really introducing design thinking. And the second thing is start shaping a problem for design thinking. We define the problem, we redefine it by going a broader area or narrower area. As we are closing the session, any feedback, any comment, any question? WM is already proposing a partnership with the health organization, with hospitals, NGOs, our government programs for health campaigns and vaccination. I'm not sure what is this about. Is it related to the sustainable tourism, or is it related to another problem? Yes, Elma? Elma, you're raising your hand. Go ahead. sustainable tourism. Thanks, VM. Okay, any final comment? I feel like we need more time to practice this. Do you agree? Yeah, I mean, I think we went through the basic and the principles, but that gives us, I mean, a feeling of unfinished. So, of course, I will share with you the slides. I mean, the session is meant to introduce you to design thinking, to explore design thinking, and I'm sure you're going to have other sessions into creative thinking and project development. So, I'll be happy, of course, to interact with you in any way possible within this program. And you have my contact. I'll leave my email in the chat if you need anything. And what I recommend as an endpoint is build empathy with your customers. Take your time, prototype and experiment. Follow the 6 principles we've talked about. And of course, we'll be happy to share with you also the slides of today.
Thank you very much, Norman. I hope everyone enjoyed today's session. So please don't forget that we have an Innovation Quest weekly creative reflection to be posted on our Instagram. So thank you so much again, and have a good one.
Thank you, Madiha.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Wish you all the best for your projects and your challenges, and looking forward to connect on some way or another.
Thank you very much for the lesson.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the lesson.
Thank you.